All right, everyone. Welcome once again to Produce Spotlight, where we are focusing on a really great brand this month called Little Leaf Farms. I'm the last one in the session. This is the last day in the last Tuesday in June, if you can believe it. So if you've been hanging out with us all month long, you probably know all about Little Leaf Farms. But if you are new with us today, you are in for a treat because they are a really, really cool brand. So we are going to be highlighting them in a Italian grinder chopped salad. I love everything about this. I love Italian foods, subs, salads. The fact that it's like an Italian sub that's chopped up and put into a salad. I just like chopped salad, everything about it. Okay. It's going to be a good one. So let's go ahead and get into that. Here's a picture of it. How pretty and colorful does that look? Something super fun and refreshing, especially during this hot weather. Um, so if you need right here in the presentation, which will also be sent out in our follow-up email, there are links for both the recipes on Giant's and Martin's website. Okay, but once again, how pretty is that picture? And you can see there, that's Little Leaf Farms. Okay, that is their brand. They have some really fun packaging. I love the colors on them. Today, we're specifically going to be highlighting their baby crispy greens. Okay, and something that I really love about Little Leaf Farms is they're not lying when they say crispy. Okay, I've tried some different packaged salad mixes like this before. And this is one brand that I can honestly say stands up to that crispness factor. I tried one of these a couple of months ago and we decided that we were going to be including them into this series, and I was blown away. Myself and my daughter, we ate this whole container. Like it was salad for dinner and it was good. Okay. But as you can see here on their packaging, they have a lot of great things going for them. The biggest one being that they are greenhouse grown greens. Okay. So there's lots more information about this on their website. And like I said, you may have heard this before already from the other gals, but basically they have this really awesome system where they are growing these greens in the greenhouse, and from seed to harvest, no hands are touching them. Okay. So really neat in that sense. Pesticide, herbicide, fungicide free, non-GMO, and grown right here in the USA. Two different plants, one in Massachusetts, one in Pennsylvania here. And they are shipped to their local grocery stores. I believe it said in 24 hours. So really neat concept here that you can get locally grown lettuce all year long in our stores. Okay, so I'm super excited to be chatting about them today, and especially once again, this crispy green leaf is probably my favorite out of all of the kinds that they carry. But here's a little refresher in case you have missed us the rest of the month. This is what they offer in our stores. So they're going to give you those basic lettuces like the crispy green that I'm chatting about today. Earlier in the month, we've also highlighted the sweet baby butter, the baby red and green leaf blend, and then the butter leaf and baby crispy blend. But they also have bigger containers of some of those, as well as some mixed blends and kits as well. So you guys know, if you've been hanging out with me, I love a Caesar salad. The crispy Caesar is delicious. But I've also heard that the sesame one is very good too. So check them all out, especially the ones that are on sale right now, right? Can't beat a good sale. So now is the time to try. Here is the recipe for the salad that we're going to be making today with the Little Leaf Farms baby crispy green lettuce. Say that 10 times fast. So once again, you can check out the link, or you have it here in the presentation. But on the left, I have the ingredients for our salad. On the right, we're going to be making like a creamy Italian dressing to go on top of this. So very fun, very refreshing. I want to highlight a couple of ingredients in the salad before we get to making it, all right? Because yes, this is like an Italian sub, or do you say grinder, or do you say hoagie, that's on top of a salad. And the vibe of an Italian sub is going to be some deli meat, all right? So there could be some concerns about sodium, which totally understandable. So let's break this down a little bit here. First, we have some great fresh ingredients, of course, with the lettuce itself, then some tomatoes, cucumbers, and onions. But then we get into that deli meat here. I mean, you could skip those things, but then we don't really have the Italian grinder part going on here. But let me show you what I'm going to be using in terms of the deli meats and cheeses, okay? We do have some lower sodium options in our stores. So one option could be you could just use less of the regular, or you could give these a try if you haven't already. I will start there in the middle. The recipe calls for, in the way of deli meats, turkey, salami, and pepperoni. Or you can just pick one or two or whatever you would like. In our Taste of Inspirations line, we do have the lower sodium turkey breast. Mind you, once again, lower sodium does not necessarily make that mark of low sodium. There is a difference, but it is going to be much lower in sodium than your average turkey. Okay, so it is a very good swap in that context. So something to keep in mind, and I've pointed this out before about your lower sodium options, is that sodium or salt is a preservative. So these products aren't going to last as long in your fridge as a regular turkey or cheese would. Okay, so keep that in mind. The shelf life, their fridge life is going to be a bit shorter. I tell people buy a smaller quantity of it rather than buying a whole pound. Only get a quarter pound or a half a pound if you're not going to eat it that quickly. But in the middle there, Taste of Inspirations, our brand. Boar's Head also has a line of lower sodium turkey as well as ham, I believe. On the left, another deli meat that they call for is pepperoni. Out of the different pepperonis that we would have, this is the one that I would go for. It being a turkey pepperoni means that it's going to be lower in fat. But out of the sodium world, okay, this Dietz and Watson brand is going to be lower in sodium than a lot of other turkey pepperoni brands that we have, okay? So we have the lower sodium turkey. We picked a pepperoni that's going to be lower in sodium compared to others. The only other deli meat that is called for is salami. Kind of hard to get a lower sodium salami. It's kind of the vibe of salami. So if you have a lot of concerns about sodium, you could always pass that. You could do less of it. It's not going to be a whole lot for this whole salad, okay? And then lastly, on the right, we're going to be using Boar's Head lower sodium provolone cheese. So another great option. All of these that you can pick up in our deli department, as much or as little of them as you want. You can decide if you want it thin slice, thick slice, whatever your cup of tea is, but they're going to make for really helping out our salad in the way of sodium. Okay? Now, here are the directions. Once again, if you prefer to check back with this presentation, you can see very simple. We're going to whisk together some ingredients for the dressing. We're going to toss all the salad ingredients together, and then we're just going to do a little drizzle with that creamy Italian dressing that we are making. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen there, and let's switch gears over to the ingredients here. Yes. Okay, guys, I'm just gonna do a quick little thing. I know sometimes you check out my nails, so I'm just gonna say they are not Christmas nails. They are watermelons, okay? But I am excited. We're into July next week, so I'm saying it's like Christmas in July. I should have gone with pink and green, but here we are, red and green. It's still fun and festive, yeah? Okay, let's get into making this salad here, okay? I know the directions said to start with the dressing, but I don't play by those rules. So we're gonna start with the salad, all right? Here is our crispy green leaf lettuce. Nice package right here. It is already washed, good to go. So I have my bowl over here, okay? And I am just going to, here, I'll hand over for you. I'm just going to go ahead and put about half of this on the bottom. I like to layer my salads. That way, if you don't have room to toss it very appropriately, then we're still getting some of these good ingredients down at the bottom. So like I said, I'm Gonna put about half of that in, and then we'll layer in what else is called for. So in the way of veggies, it's I say about half a cup of diced cucumber, a salad, and veggies. I say as much as you want, all right? So I already have the cucumber chopped up, ready to go. Next one here that we're going to be adding is some diced red onion. Recipe says sliced onions. You guys know I don't really like to cut onions. So I picked up our diced onions that are in the produce department with the fresh cut fruits and veggies. I love this, especially this time of year for making salsas, all of that. I'm just going to sprinkle some in until it looks pretty because I love purple foods, which who decided to call this a red onion, right? It's purple, guys, but we'll let it go. All right, so we've got some cucumber in there. We've got some onion. Next up, we have some tomatoes. I picked up our cherry tomatoes on the vine, okay? So just with a little bit of that vibe of freshness going on when they're on the vine. You can have that bright tomato smell that comes with, picking them right off the vine. Now, I want to show you here, we're going to be cutting some more tomatoes in a minute, but how I like to cut a tomato here, I've already washed these, so don't worry about that. Is I always like to cut a tomato with a serrated knife, okay? That prickly edge there is going to help cut the skin of this a lot better than just a straight knife would, okay? So you can see here that serrated knife just goes right through. We want to quarter these, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do that, but use the serrated knife. It's gonna cut any tomato a lot better and more cleanly than a regular knife would, okay? So we'll save these tomatoes and cucumbers for the top layer, but already that's looking pretty just with the veggies, right? All right, let's start cutting up some of this deli meat. Here is the salami. I just like to put them together, fold them, and then we will start chopping here, okay? So just kind of holding my hand here like a C, pushing it down so that way our fingers are intact from the knife, but we still have a good grip on it to cut it. You can cut it again. Just depends on how finely chopped you want this, right? It is a chopped salad. So sprinkle that in. I'm only going to do about half of this once again so we can leave the other half for the top. And once again, you wouldn't have to add the salami if we're really watching out on the sodium. Let's do a little more here. Okay, whoops, sorry. Okay, put our salami to the side. Next up, here is our lower sodium Taste of Inspirations turkey. Same thing, I just took a couple slices, folded it up there, and we're just going to make some cuts. And we will chop it up again the other direction. Okay. And we'll go ahead and sprinkle some of that in there. Looks nice. I'm really pumped about this, guys. Such bright, vibrant summer colors going on. All right, let's save the turkey. Now for our last deli meat, I have those pepperonis right here. You wouldn't have to cut these if you didn't want to, but I like the vibe, once again, of a chopped salad. So we're going to go ahead, just make them a bit smaller. Toss those in. Okay. And then our provolone cheese, same thing, couple slices. And we will chop this up. After we do this, we'll put in another layer of the lettuce, top it off again, and then make our dressing, okay? Oh, guys, I am hungry. This looks good. I am pumped about this. Okay, get that cheese separated and in there. Okay, perfect. We'll save the rest of the cheese. I'll chop more of that in a bit. Now let's add some more lettuce. We'll add the rest of our lettuce here. Okay, and as you can see, all of those ingredients really weighed this down. So my bowl is, it seemed like it'd be full, but it's not because those ingredients weigh it down. All right, so add the rest of this on here. Do you hear the crisp? You hear that crispiness? Okay, a little more. Okay, we got all of our lettuce in there. Now we'll go back through, add our runaway cucumber. There it went. Add our cucumber. I'm gonna wait and put the tomatoes and I should have waited on the cucumber too. Let me take some of those out. Come here, you. Okay. Because I want the veggies to pop on the top, right? And the cucumber is already green on green. It's an aesthetics thing. I don't know why I care, but I do. So let's get some of this salami again. Chop up a little bit more of that. Okay. Add that on top. All right. I just realized that I forgot to layer an important ingredient that's back here. Okay. Some banana peppers. Banana pepper is another one of those things that can add a bit of sodium to this. So maybe I subconsciously didn't add them to the bottom layer for that reason. But if you would like a little bit of acidity to your salad, which I do, doesn't matter what type of sub I get, I always like to add banana peppers. I think they're that nice, bright little zip into a salad. So we'll add those on to the top here then in a minute. Okay, get that on there. I feel like I didn't have enough cheese. Let's do just a little more cheese. Okay. All right, a little more. Perfect. Okay, that's on there. Let's get a little bit of pepperonis. Here we go. Nice bright redness. Okay, beautiful. Now we have more tomatoes. I might need to cut a couple more tomatoes depending. We will see. Yes, I do. All right, get that pretty purple on there. Okay, let me move this out of the way so you guys can see, whoops, the salad a little better here. Looking nice, yeah, okay. Spread some of that out now that I can see this side better. All right, we will put some more cucumber on top. Okay, I feel like I need another tomato. Just a moment. You're probably thinking, Shayna, you still need to make the dressing. Let's go, girl. Well, don't worry. I'm going. Okay. Here we are. The tomato there. See, it needed that. Patience. Patience is a virtue, is what my dad always used to say. Oh, I used to be very annoyed by that growing up. But now I understand, and I believe I've said it to my daughter. So yep, here we are. Okay, here, those banana peppers. Chop it up, just rip them as you go on top here. I think it's fine too. I'll chop them. They're not ripping as I would like them to. All right. Here we go. Oh, see, we needed those. It was a nice little pop of yellow, yes? One more. Okay, I lied. Two more. Here we go. Okay. My dad's going to be so happy that I talked about him on class today, even though if it was in that context, he's always like, did you talk about me on class? Did you talk about me on TV? No, Dad. Well, now today I did. Okay, there we have it. There is our salad. Isn't it lovely? All right, let's make this dressing, okay? So I'm just going to push our salad ingredients to the side here. And let's talk dressing. So our dressing, you can whisk it in a, sorry, just getting something to clean up over here. You can whisk it in a bowl like the recipe calls for, but I like making salad dressings in mason jars. I just feel like that's the trendy, fun thing to do. So we're gonna do it. Careful with those banana peppers. You can see they were sitting there, and earlier, as I opened this, I spilled them, and then they just like leave yellow everywhere. All right, back to the dressing. Here's my mason jar. In here, I already have a tablespoon of water, okay? To that, I am going to be adding 3 tablespoons of plain Greek yogurt, okay? So once again, this is like a creamy Italian dressing. The Greek yogurt is really nice. It is the non-fat variety. You could go full fat for a little bit more satiety if you would like, but I feel like we have a lot of satisfying notes in here already with the amount of protein. So non-fat, I think is going to work well for this. Once again, giving us that tangy flavor with a bit of the protein without the fat, like a normal salad dressing. So let's see if this will go in here without me needing to. There we go. Okay. So about 3 tablespoons of Greek yogurt in there. And then to that, I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of olive oil. Sometimes I'm precise with these things, sometimes I'm not. Today I'm feeling being precise. So 1 tablespoon of olive oil, 1 tablespoon of red wine vinegar, also just that like nice pop of acidity to our dressing here. All right, 1 tablespoon of that going in. Now, some garlic, okay? Recipe calls, I believe, for a tablespoon of chopped garlic. To me, that kind of feels like a lot. So we're going to see about that here. Let me clean off that. I'm going to go with about half, okay? You can use fresh garlic. You guys know I like to keep this in my fridge. Just it's our Nature's Promise where we are. Nature's Promise minced garlic. You can get it packed in water or olive oil. So as much or as little of that in there as you want. Then we have some spices. First up here, recipe calls for 1/4 of a teaspoon of Italian seasoning. I love having this in my pantry. It helps to doctor up, homemade sauces or like a can of tomatoes. You can put it on anything and everything. So get yourself some Italian seasoning if you don't have already. Here, this one, very optional if you'd like a little heat. This is crushed red pepper. I'm gonna do just a dash in here, okay? Like boop, boop, boop. Okay, there we have it. Now, this is the beauty of the mason jar. We have our lid, we have our ring, and then we just do a little shake, shake, shake. All right. If this would be too thick for some reason, you can always add more water to it, but I think we're looking good, okay? And put it upside down to really get it going, but I think we're good there. Yes? Okay. So here is our dressing. Beautiful. All right. Then you can just go ahead and do your drizzle. Oops. There we have it. Oh, doesn't that look good? Okay. And then you can toss this. You wouldn't have to serve it with the dressing on. You could have that on the side, let people do their own thing. Either one works. But here is our Italian grinder chopped salad. I'm so pumped to eat this, like super pumped, okay? I will take some pictures of it for you guys before I dig in, I promise, okay? So let me pull up our video here again. And I am going to share my screen with you guys real quick again before we get to Q&A. Once again, recipe is in here, but this is, as I mentioned earlier, the last produce spotlight for the month of June. We're going to be switching gears for July. If you haven't already signed up for the produce spotlight in July, but you love today, I totally invite you to do so. Right here is the link to register. And in July, we're going to be focusing on produce themed summery desserts. Okay, so I do want to put out there a big reminder, though, that we will not be having class next Tuesday, July 1st. Okay, the only class that we have next week is on Monday with me for meal solutions, but then we won't have any the rest of that week there. So no class next Tuesday, but then on the 8th, Charlotte will be talking about watermelon and making a watermelon pizza. She'll be back the week after doing mango and making mango strawberry slushies. Very fun. And then Jenna will be highlighting raspberries on the 22nd and making a very lovely grilled peach with yogurt and raspberries. And then I will finish up the month again with plums and a little bit about nectarines. We're going to be making a French pudding cake. Okay. So once again, make sure that you sign up for those classes. But thank you guys so much for being here with us today. I'm going to go ahead and end our recording and check out the Q&A to see what types of questions we have. If you think of any right now, please feel free to pop them in there. Okay.